Have you seen this show called The Office? Well, I look like Kevin, but I think like Dwight. I mean, that's a great headline for a dating profile. Oh, this is BW Podcast, aka Binge-Watchers Podcast, by the way, with Johnny Spoiler. Stick around after I drink the drink. It's red, it's delicious. The drink, not the apple. And I'll be right back to spoil a movie for you. With love, of course. Always with love.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge Watchers podcast.
Home video headlines. There's a new vampire movie out there called Onlyfangs. You know, I was worried that it was dangerously close to a vampire movie that I wrote called Night Work, but, it isn't. So the secret is safe with some producer in Van Nuys for now. For now. Camila Mendez has been cast in Masters of the Universe, the new live action. They already cast the He-Man. I forget who he is, but he's in the White Lotus show, like, second or third season. I don't know. He's ripped. He's buff. Don't worry, guys. He's chiseled like the '80s He-Man, not like a dad version of He-Man. Anyway, which would be cool too. Just have He-Man go full dad bod. Anyway, Camila Mendez, as I said, she's gonna play the new Tila. You might remember her. She's Riverdale's Veronica. I don't know if you saw the Riverdale show, which is based on the Archie comics. Anyway, they turned it into a drama. It was on TV or streamers, whatever. Anyway, moving on. I don't even know why I was drawing that out. I could have simply just said Camila Mendez is the new Tila. Whatever. Bubba Ho-Tep deserves much better than what the Tomato Mob has given it over there at Rotten Tomatoes. A 79. I don't know. I saw an article. It's like, what's funny about the internet is like they just keep recycling things. But anyway, they were actually talking about a movie that I like, Bubba Ho-Tep. Now, man, it can't just sit at a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it should be 100%. That's why we have a better rating system over here. Binge now, binge later, binge never. But Ho-Tep is a big binge now. Here's why. It's like Elvis decides to fake his own death and hide out as an Elvis impersonator, and then he gets shucked off, or like he gets disenfranchised, or just left to rot at like a old folks home because the impersonator as Elvis dies, right? Like the movie suggesting in the movie universe that it wasn't Elvis who died. Um, Unceremoniously or ironically, if you will, um, but the impersonator, right, who he switched places with. And anyway, while he's in the old folks' home, he meets somebody who claims to be the mind of JFK put into somebody else's body by the CIA, right? And then, so those two work together, those pseudo celebs, or they might really be who they say they are. You don't know. The movie kind of plays jokes on that. Like, is it just two old people who are senile, who are making things up, or hallucinating, or is it really happening? And then a mummy from Egypt shows up, and it's like, going after and sucking the life out of everybody at the old folks' home. Bubba Ho-Tep. Take a look at it. And I think it's the filmmaker who did the shiny metal balls flying through the air with the spikes and the tall man, right? Right? Phantasm? It's the same filmmaker, I think. Now, if I've gotten that totally wrong, I want to be executed by all the fanboys out there. Anyway, but I think that's accurate. Um, oh, tonight's movie is The Exorcist 3, which, when I'm thinking about movies in this kind of genre, like, you might seek out other movies, like, you could watch Angel Heart, End of Days, or Deliver Us from Evil. Like, for me, like, it's really funny. Like, I always go back to End of Days or Deliver Us from Evil. It's like police procedural, like the detective versus the ultimate evil, or a detective versus the devil in some movie context for about 90 minutes has always been a really good plot structure. I don't know. And so it makes sense why Hollywood keeps repeating that one. I know they just keep, they always talk about that, the infernal cycle of like Hollywood not coming up with any new ideas and just using the same formulaic stuff, tried and true, tried and true, tried and true. But hey, sometimes the patterns work. Sometimes it works every time. Um, is the Arnold Schwarzenegger End of Days kind of goofy? I don't know. I always kind of liked it. And then um, Deliver Us from Evil is kind of, the mythology is kind of good, and like the source of the evil in that one is kind of interesting. And again, whatever. And then Angel Heart is actually pretty disturbing. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it kind of fits into the same. If you're like, oh, I've seen The Exorcist 3, what else is out there? Well, you got Angel Heart, End of Days, Deliver Us from Evil. Trivia time. So we're watching The Exorcist 3, aka Legion, The Exorcist 3. William Peter Blatty, who wanted the film, or Blately, I don't know, he's the guy. He wanted the film to be titled simply Legion, just like the novel that he wrote. The producers, however, wanted it to be like just The Exorcist 3 for commercial reasons, to tie back into the original. Blately even tried to convince them to alter The Exorcist and call it, Exorcist 1990, in order to distance itself from Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which he despised. But then they all agreed to settle for The Exorcist 3. Basically, 3 doesn't even acknowledge that 2 exists. It's like a direct sequel to number 1. Of the climactic exorcism scene, the director would say, "That's all right, but it's utterly unnecessary and it changes the character of the piece." Although at the time, Blatty had told the press that I should just say William Peter, because I'm having a hard time with, I think it's Blatty. Anyway, Blatty told the press that he was happy to reshoot the film's ending and have the story climax with a frenzy of special effects. The truth is that he had to compromise kind of against his wishes. He was basically saying the original story that he sold Morgan Creek Entertainment is that he had shot and ended with the detective Kinderman blowing away Patient X, and this was no exorcism. It was more of a Mexican standoff between um, the characters. No. Actually, no. I'm getting his quote wrong. Blatty is referring to a Mexican standoff between himself and the studio over control over the ending, but it is kind of a standoff, that scene anyway. Um, he says they went through one preview and they had to change it up to make it look more like the original Exorcist. They had to go back, shoot additional scenes, add a priest character, add an exorcism, and anyway, so I guess there's also the story going around that Blatty had like petitioned the studio to find the lost footage of his original ending, or do like a director's cut, and they said we've lost the footage, we can't find it. But then supposedly back in 2017, the footage came together. There is a director's cut, and ultimately it's kind of unnecessary. It doesn't change the movie that much, and it really doesn't improve it like how he described it. Anyway, they did assemble it though, like in 2017. You got a bunch of Slemio. I was trying to say the word celebrity and cameo, and it came out as Slemio. That should be the new app that they're on instead of the other one, Cameo. Yeah, they should call it Slemio. There's a bunch of celeb cameos in here. You got Michael. I almost said Michael Jackson. I'm just flubbing the entire episode. The entire thing is just goofs and goofs and goofs and goofs. But we only do one take, so you're gonna have to have the rawness, the goofs, and the appropriate things all together in one. Celebrity cameos, including Samuel L. Jackson. He plays one of the deceased in kind of like the Heaven's Waiting Room sequence. The detective is dreaming and he sees like angels and dead people and the killer's victims and et cetera, et cetera. But the celebrity, the cameos include, as I said, Samuel L. Jackson. Oh, dude, you got Fabio as an angel, and Patrick Ewing, the basketball player, also plays one of the angels of death, or whatever. They're all sitting there with the victims in the movie in this waiting room. It's kind of like a dream sequence. Um, it, it's disturbing, but it's also fascinating, and it also stands out as one of the scenes in the movie. Um, I actually watched this movie because of George C. Scott. He was in Hardcore 79 and the 12 Angry Men remake in 1997, back in good old 97. But he plays Detective Kinderman in this one. All right, we'll be right back with our favorite bits from The Exorcist 3 right after these messages. You can get pizza with a twist. Baozi combines classic pizza flavor with steamed Chinese dumplings known as baos. Your favorite pizza flavors with gooey, stretchy mozzarella stuffed inside the soft, herb-infused bun of doughy goodness. You can pop it in the microwave for easy heat, easy eat. You can also steam them the classic way too. Grab our link and order a Baozi. You know, when I was a kid, I tried to communicate with the moose on a spiritual level. That ended badly. It charged me. I had to jump through a fence, and I fell over in a tree. That stands out as like one of those dangerous nature encounter things. And I only bring that up because it was like, you know, people that know me in film school know this story. It's like the Great Moose story. But when I'm talking about a moose being loose, I'm actually not talking about that story. I'm not referring to my deadly encounter with the moose. I'm talking about this guy who's like a wine expert who calls himself the Moose, the Loose Moose. And he's gone around Australia, New Zealand, France. He's put together some really great wines, right? And it's called Loose Moose. And the Moose is now loose on our show, too. We got an affiliate link. You can try out the Loose Moose's wines. Kind of a mysterious character, the Loose Moose. And it's not, the wine is good. It's not traumatic like a childhood encounter with an actual moose. If you got to think for mooses, mises, mices, no. You got to think for moose. I think it's plural and singular at the same time. Anyway, grab our link and look at what the Loose Moose has in a bottle for you. And I'm going to need the starter kit to get over that childhood trauma. I'm going to order one today, baby. All right, back to the show already in progress with our favorite bits from Exorcist 3. I was stumbling in the beginning of the pod. Sorry about that. And now I'm kind of feeling the groove. I tried to jump into the episodes earlier and get to it sooner, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I flubbed one thing and then I just kept flubbing. It's an episode. We'll just call it Flubber. That's a whole different movie. That's Robin Williams and a rubber substance that comes to life and helps the downtrodden high school basketball team win the tournament. And I think it's a remake. I think his is a remake of the original Flubber, right? With Jerry Lewis. Is that what it is? Yeah. Um, let's see. The comedian, not the piano player. I think that's his name. I like when I go on tangents, I don't have the facts to back them up. Like earlier, I was talking about a movie with shiny metal balls, Phantasm, and I was trying to relate it to tonight's movie, and I wasn't sure if it quite lined up, but I rolled with it anyway. That's just how it is. Hopefully, it lines up. Anyway, favorite bits from The Exorcist 3. There's a body jumping scene where like an old nurse gets possessed and she shows up at the detective's house to slash the daughter's throat as like payback for the detective not following the wishes of the demons collectively known as Legion or whatever that are like inhabiting patient X in cell number 11 or whatever. Spoiler alert, the interesting portrayal that Brad Dourif does of a serial killer character, also referred to as patient X, but also his name is like Jimmy or James or Vitamin or something. Vita Vidi Vegemin? No, that's a joke. But his serial killer character is just one of the people that the Legion has possessed. So, they're trying to say, oh, the Gemini killer was never caught. He's still around, or he's this guy, who's locked up in the hospital who just forgot that he was the killer. No, man, no. He's just one of the personalities or victims that the Legion has possessed in this movie. Jason Miller comes back. He's kind of fascinating to watch. He was the priest that died at the end of the original, trying to get rid of the demon in that one. And Jason Miller in real life, I mean, that's not his character's name. That's the actor's name. I should maybe clarify that. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright of a play called Championship Season, and he's also Jason Patric's dad. If you know the actor Jason Patric, that's his dad. It's pretty interesting. So he had a successful career as a writer. He's obviously renowned, obviously well regarded, and then he gets into an acting career and is probably most known from the original Exorcist as the ill-fated priest who's trying to stop the demon at the end of the movie. And they bring his character back, spoiler alert, because it's actually his body that's possessed and has all these other personalities of all the other victims that the demon has collected, something like that, within 15 years. And again, then they added all this imagery, right? Like you could hearken. I was talking earlier about the studio hearken about we need to tie back in with the first movie. And anyway, so that's it. To recap, my favorite bits. When you realize that he's having to possess other people while he's locked up in the mental institution or the whatever basement of the hospital, he sends out his little, remotely controlled drone possessed humans to go do his bidding. And so when he shows up at the detective's house to get revenge, that's a intense part. That's a favorite bit. Learning that the serial killer is just one more victim as well, interesting bit. And the final bit that I like is a appreciation for Jason Miller, right? He's captivating. He's got an interesting look, interesting sound. Wish he was in more movies. I mean, I guess he has like bit parts all the way up into the early 2000s, but I didn't know that. I mean, I thought he was mostly active from his generation, like in the 70s or something, but he keeps cropping up. I think there's some history with the family, and like I don't know if he's estranged from his son, but hopefully maybe to I don't know. There's a couple of podcast interviews I've seen with Jason Patrick talking about intense family drama and stuff like that, of course. And who's the actor? Dang, it's skipping my mind because the grandpa is like the actor from the Honeymooners, right? Jason Patrick's grandpa is a well-renowned actor as well, but I can't think of his name's. Anyway, skipping my brain right now. Sorry about that. How do I rate it? Actually, I mean, I know I just sung its praises. You got George C. Scott. I mean, he dragged me in the movie. You got Brad Dourif. You got Jason Miller. But overall, it's going to be a binge never. I find it overrated. Like, we do this thing on the show. It's binge now. Got to watch it now. Binge later, get around to it, but still worth watching. Or binge never, you can't get the time back. That's how I feel. I'm very unhappy that I spent the afternoon trying to get my show ready by watching this. Like, I can't undo it. It happened, you know? And then it makes me go, oh man, I've got more to do because we're doing Summer/6 or 666. Do you get it? Like that's what we're doing, these religious bent thriller movies or horror movies, with apocalyptic evil, this summer. And I have a few more of these to do, and I'm like, oh man, well, like this one, Exorcist 3 or Legion, aka Exorcist 3, has left a bad taste in my mouth. So, but I gotta truck on. Or carry on. Fan service. What are the fans doing? Are they chiming in? If they are, what are they saying to us? This is the coolest username. Little Dracula on TikTok had responded to one of our video clips from the episode Surviving Comedy Clubs. And he had said he'd never considered how a show like Kiltunny, I'm mispronouncing everything. Kill Tony, how the show like Kill Tony could have changed the comedy landscape or the comedy scene for comedians until now. Thanks for chiming in, Little Dracula. Again, killer name, dude. Staff picks. If we watch something else besides the movie of the week that we can recommend, and actually, we gotta wash the taste out of our mouth. I almost said watch the taste. That'd be a good show if you did like a show about food and movies. You watch the taste. Anyway, to get the taste out of your mouth with this one, I went back and was watching some things. But have you ever noticed how Jim on The Office is an asshole? Like, really a sociopath. And how Tim in The Office UK is an even bigger sociopath. Anyway, you can watch The Office UK on Hulu right now. According to my blueprints, we're going to be watching The Unholy from 1988 next week to coincide with the conclusion of Summer/6 or 666. Get it? We ran out of time to watch things like The Taking of Deborah Logan, but I can also say you should go out and see Lost Highway and The Original Prophecy with Christopher Walken and Eli Koteas. That's a war between man and angels and half-breeds. No, are there half-breeds in that? No, the half-breed comes in part 2. Sorry. There's actually a trilogy called The Prophecy, and Christopher Walken's in the first 3. They do have other sequels. I think there's 4 and 5, but they don't have the original actors or characters. And anyway, just dig up this movie called The Prophecy, where Christopher Walken as an angel named Gabriel. It's pretty. I like it. I mean, I guess I'm recommending it to you as well. Find out if you like it or not. Sub us on Spotify or Castbox. Share these videos around. If you like the clips, click them, share them, comment on them. And I might comment back if I find it fascinating. Not a waste of my time, just kidding. No, if I'm excited by your commentary, I'll definitely respond back. You don't have to go home, but as I like to say lately, you can't stay here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.